Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The time is 12 o'clock noon. This meeting of the Pontiac City Council for Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024 is hereby called to order. This is our 124th session. We're holding it on a Wednesday at noon to accommodate for the fact that New Year's holidays part of it fell on the weekend, so City Hall was closed on Tuesday the 2nd. So with that, we turn the floor to Councilman Parker to introduce this afternoon's invocation.
Thank you, Brother President. Good afternoon, everyone. And to give us our invocation today, our first invocation of the year, Pastor Kathy Lee James will be blessing us with our invocation this afternoon.
Good morning, and let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you this morning. We thank you for this first meeting of this new year that you have given us. And our first thought is to thank you for all the blessings that you've bestowed upon us. Thank you, Father, for keeping us, keeping our families, keeping our homes. We ask this morning that you would continue to bless this council, continue to give us the vision, the wisdom and understanding that we need to be able to move the city forward. We ask your blessings this morning upon the residents of Pontiac, all of the people who live in this city, all of the families. We ask your blessings upon this city. Lord, that we would be able to be grateful for the blessings that you are bestowing on this city in 2024. We thank you for those blessings in advance. We thank you for your kindness to this city. We thank you, Father, for all that you have done for us. And we ask that your blessings would continue to be with us, that you would give us the wisdom and the understanding to appreciate and to be thankful for the things that you have bestowed upon us. These blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now for a moment of silence as a community. We often reflect on those that we have said goodbye to. But for this first meeting of the year, I'd like us to have a joyful moment of silence for the first birth in the city of Pontiac in the new year. A few minutes after midnight on January 1st at St. Joseph Mercy Oakland Hospital, Ariel Bird, to proud Pontiac parents, was born. So let's hold a moment of silence and in celebration of new life and new birth of our newest Pontiac neighbor, Miss Ariel Bird. Thank you very much. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Carrington.
Present.
Goodman.
Here.
James.
Here.
McGinnis.
Present.
Nicholson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Rutherford. Present. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Quorum being established, all members present and voting. Is there a motion to approve this afternoon's agenda?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington. Microphone? Oh, okay. I apologize. So it's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington to approve this afternoon's agenda. Is there a motion to amend the agenda to move resolutions 4 and 5 up to become the new number 1 and 2, and to add a discussion? This would be the new number 9, update from administration on the status of the former McConnell School demolition.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, was that Councilman Nicholson? So it's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Nicholson, to amend the agenda to shift up, so that way the rules and procedures and President and Pro Tem elections happen before the ordinances, and to add a second discussion item in terms of status update on the former McCarroll School demolition. That's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none, roll call, Clerk Doyle, on the motion to amend the agenda, which would make those changes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
That motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Are there any other changes or discussion on the main agenda as amended? Yes, ma'am.
Point of information, are we voting on, we had something that we moved to this meeting today. Has it been taken off the agenda, or are we doing it on the 9th? In regards to the parking lot structure on North Perry, is that today?
So we have, if I think I got your question right, we have the 3 ordinances. Each of them are second readings. The first is the .59 acres at 148 East Howard Street, which is at Howard and Perry.
Right, that's,
So those rezonings, that is still on the agenda for this week.
okay.
Yep. Any further discussion or amendments? All right. Hearing nothing further, roll call Clerk Doyle on adoption of the agenda as amended.
Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes?
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The agenda is approved, and we will proceed accordingly. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Rutherford, second by Councilman Goodman. This week's consent agenda has the December 27th, 2023 City Council meeting minutes. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. We are at our special presentation of the day, celebrating a recognition from the city of Pontiac for one of our neighbors who has been in this chamber before in terms of his advocacy for his fellow military veterans. The city council adopted a resolution recognizing Modesto de la O for his national commendation by the veterans of foreign wars. And Pro Tem Carrington, if you're up for reading it, no pressure, but I know you were a strong advocate for this resolution taking place.
Actually, I'm going to see if Councilman Parker would read this.
Okay, very good.
And thank you, President and President Pro Tem. It's the City Council resolution recognizing Modesto de la O for his national commendation by the veteran of foreign wars. Whereas Mr. Modesto de la O is a resident of Pontiac, Michigan, and grew up in the community as well, graduating from Pontiac Public Schools. And whereas Mr. de la O is a United States Marine Corps veteran and is a member and past post commander of Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 1370, located in Pontiac. And whereas Mr. de la O has undertaken substantial community service to support his fellow veterans, continuously worked to support the Michigan National Guard, advocated for incarcerated veterans, and established his nonprofit organization, Foxhole, to support veterans' well-being. And whereas for his admirable work, Mr. de la O received the Distinguished Service Award at the Veterans of Foreign Wars VFW National Convention on July 25, 2023. And whereas the Distinguished Service Award recognizes VFW members for exemplary or extraordinary service to our country through demonstrated actions that promote the spirit of the VFW, through volunteer actions in service, companionship, and activities to benefit their local community. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Pontiac City Council, in partnership with Mayor Tim Grammel, hereby recognizes, commends, and thanks Mr. Modesto de la O for his continued valiant service to his fellow veterans and to his city of Pontiac. And further resolved, the City Council congratulates Mr. de la O on his significant national recognition by the Veterans of Foreign Wars, with his well-deserved receiving of their Distinguished Service Award at the VFW National Convention this year. Signed by the Pontiac City Council on November 7th, 2023.
Very good. Let's give a rousing round of applause to Mr. de la O. And at this point, you have the opportunity, if you'd like to speak at the microphone. Oh, okay, very good.
If I may.
Yes, yes.
Mr. de la O, thank you as a fellow veteran. Service and appreciation.
Thank you, sir. So if you'd like to take the microphone and offer any reflections, no obligation, but the opportunity is yours. The microphone can be turned on with the button at the bottom right of the black base. That sounds like it's on, yes.
There it goes.
You know, to receive an award from the city you reside in, from the place you graduated from, Pontiac Central, a lot of history here. It's a very unique feeling. I thought the one I received at the national level was incredibly humbling. Right now, I believe it's just as humbling because I'm surrounded by the people that we reside in the same town, same thing. There's a couple things. You know, I stand for as representative of VFW 1370, aka the Renegade Post. For those that don't know, that post has been around for over 92 years now? 98 years. 98 years now. That place has helped a lot of veterans and their families. Never so much as asked for a thank you. I'm very indebted to that VFW because of the people that reside there. They're people of action. So I'm grateful because they helped me find my purpose again. So if you know a veteran out there that's looking to make a difference, just send them our way. They can present their idea, and we'll find a way to help them reach their objective. On a completely different note, there's just simply far too many veterans that are making negative decisions that drastically impact their lives and those of their loved ones. I personally know four veterans that took their own lives. So that's why I felt I had to do something. That's why I started Foxhole. So Foxhole is a nonprofit that teaches martial arts to veterans as a healthy outlet to overcome challenges. So I found jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, Sambo, Judo, MMA all help provide a healthy therapy to overcome some of the frustrations that you get as a veteran when you try to adapt to the civilian world. So Foxhole also does something else very unique. It helps cultivate camaraderie. It helps accountability. And it's a team-like atmosphere where vets begin to talk and then to start sharing the challenges that they face. And before you know it, you start realizing that some of these other vets face the same challenges that you faced. And because of that, you start sharing information, resources, provide answers to overcome those obstacles. So we at Foxhole will offer 2-year scholarships to veterans and teach them martial arts free. It will do the work. So we'll help them do that so long as they stay committed to the program. So I believe you touched on it, sir, but less than 2 years ago, I stood up here, me and my team, and asked Pontiac if Foxhole can call it home. We can now proudly say we brought a national award home here to Pontiac. We're very proud of that. I'm very, very proud of that. I gotta say though, I'm gonna ask you to think about it. If we could do that, just imagine what we could do if we had a little bit more resources. Just a little bit more, okay? So one is, I still need a gym here in Pontiac. I need a facility where I could teach veterans martial arts and teach everything that we're talking about right now. The other reason, and this is news for everybody, those that don't know, is we still want to launch our youth program. This program is going to introduce martial arts to the teens in the community. We will use our veterans to educate the youth on how to use martial arts as a tool to succeed in life. So I say all that to say this. We are very proud of this award, but it's become too obvious to me as I've been out there that there's still many veterans here in the city that need help. So I'm going to ask for your help to help make Pontiac a standard for helping vets succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or feedback from council members or the mayor? Councilman Parker.
Well, certainly we thank you, Mr. De La O, for your continued work in the area of helping out veterans who have fought and given their lives and their dedication to this community and to this country. We certainly want to say that we certainly appreciate all the effort that you're making, because one of the things that we certainly fall short on is the support that we give our veterans. Being a veteran myself, I certainly recognize that. And so thank you for your dedication, commitment to the service of for those who have served their country well.
Thank you very much, sir. Coming from me is a big compliment. Thank you.
Councilman Rutherford.
Good afternoon. I just want to again say congratulations, but also just to give you a bit of information, they're currently taking RFPs for youth programs all the way to January the 12th, and our new Parks and Rec director happens to be in the building in the back, so you should reach out to him if you really want to solicit that and have that martial arts class, because they're taking RFPs for the youth program. So just to give you some information.
Thank you. I will do that.
Yep.
Mayor Grimal.
Well, thank you, Mr. DeLao, for your amazing service. Certainly, you make all of us here in Pontiac proud by bringing home this national award. But more importantly is the impact that you're making in individual veterans' lives. And I just want to thank you sincerely. It's very heartfelt because a lot of people pay lip service to supporting veterans when they come home, but you're actually doing it. And I know you're doing it at the expense of a lot of time and some of your own resources, and you're really pouring your heart and soul into this because you care about those individuals. So thank you for what you're doing, and let's definitely get together and talk about the possibility of helping you get a gym here in the city. I think there's a need for that writ large, and so let's definitely get together and talk through that.
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Stevens.
Thank you, Council President. I just have to say that, so I'm gonna use his real name, Modesto, and that's an inside joke because he and I went to high school together and he did not go by his real name back then. And I am just overcome with pride and joy to see somebody that I've known for so long to rise to this level. So thank you for what you do and congratulations.
Thanks, Kelfine. I appreciate you, man.
Councilman Goodman.
I just want to show my deep gratitude. I've had multiple family members who have served as far back as Vietnam, and spending a lot of time with that family member and seeing the ways in which this country has shown up for veterans, but also the many, many ways that it hasn't, and has left a lot of people forgotten and left on the wayside. And it's deeply and extremely important that you are doing this work, because it's important that no one who has done anything for our society, especially not those who have risked their lives and their familyhood in any type of way. I'm deeply, deeply grateful and indebted that you're doing this, because it's just so massively important, especially to members of my family as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and I'm going to give the final word to President Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for your service, as well as all the work you do within the community, and especially the niche that you spoke to about helping veterans make a positive transition back into society. I was one of those veterans that actually fell short. So it's a gap that is needed, not only in Pontiac, but throughout this country. So again, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
And with that, that concludes the special presentation. If you're up for it, we'll do a group photo. We could do it if you stand there and we'll stand behind you. Hopefully that can handle the matter swiftly. Looks like our communications director is ready to do the deed. And if you want, you can grab the framed resolution.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you want, we could pivot if you need it. Congratulations again on behalf of the entire city.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes this special presentation. We are now at recognition of elected officials. I first want to take a courtesy and say that this is a room full of presidential leadership. We have the last four city council presidents, and there could be more, who knows, in the room right now, but I want to give honor and gratitude on behalf of the citizens of Pontiac to City Council President Emeritus, and happy birthday to the Honorable Lee Jones. President Emeritus, the Honorable Patrice Waterman. And the Honorable President Emeritus Kermit Williams. We're also joined by the president, I think the last three presidents of the Pontiac School Board, including the President School Board President, the Honorable Gil Garrett is with us. Happy New Year, sir. This is the time on our agenda where we extend the opportunity for anyone currently in elected office, if they would like to speak. We've got some members of the Charter Revision Commission and School Board and most recently the Local Officers Compensation Commission. Thank you to our community's leaders who continue to step up and help serve in many different capacities and lend your expertise to continue benefiting our neighbors. Hearing no requests for recognition of elected officials, we are now at agenda address, an opportunity for our neighbors to speak to items on the agenda before we vote on them. President Pro Tem Currington, who's the first request?
Mr. Carlton Jones, items 1, 2, 3, 8, and 10.
I want to say Happy New Year to everybody, and excited about this year of 2024. And I want to make sure I bring some good positive energy to our city. I just wanted to come and say I got a chance to review a couple of items, and I wanted to commend Mark and Corey in that planning division. I think all three of those resolutions that they've got dealing with zoning, they did a very good, thorough job in presenting them, clearly understand what's on the table, and I think they really deserve merit to be passed. The other item, number 8, Northfield Farms and that grant. I think that's fantastic. Another opportunity for us to be able to see how we can make sure that that type of grant funding goes through and recycle to individuals in Pontiac through training and development. And if we got an opportunity to re-engage some of that funding to give back to residents by giving opportunities for training and development, we need to work real hard to see how we can make that happen. So I'll work with you, Councilman Goodman, any way I can to make sure that happens. And then number 10, I want to once again thank Council President McGinnis. He put the TDC work on this agenda again, that everybody needs to know we are truly working hard to develop individuals in this city for high-paying, high-demand opportunities for careers. Now understand that is a little different than just a job. We want serious-minded people who want to advance themselves into a career mindset. And we have talked to employers who say there are certain criteria they look for to get them in the door. And the last thing, I commend the person we recognize. Veterans is one of the areas we haven't touched yet, and that's a target group, and I'm going to follow up with him to see how we can do something here in Pontiac. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Darlene Clark, what item on the agenda? Oh, we pass, okay. Ms. Gloria Miller is not in the room. That concludes our agenda address, President McGinnis.
All right, thank you. Next, and I just want to extend an opportunity. Did the school board president want to speak? We came and went with recognition of elected officials. Didn't want you to be penalized for answering someone's question in the hallway. All right, so with the agenda amendment, the first item is number 1 now is resolution ratifying council rules and procedure. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Pro Tem Currington, that we ratify the City Council's rules and procedures. These City Council rules and procedures are set to be reconsidered annually at the first meeting of every year, and that's where we are today. There are currently no proposed changes, so it would map over, unless through this discussion and amendments it changes, it would be the currently standing rules and procedures. This document helps us govern these meetings, the operations of City Council. It does not raise to the level of an ordinance or a charter passage. It's more sort of operational day-to-day functions. So with that, the motion is before us. Is there any discussion, amendments? Pro Tem Currington, you have the floor.
Just a quick discussion. I'd definitely like us to revisit these at our retreat, if it's possible.
Okay. Sure, yeah, we could dive in, see if there's room for growth and fine-tuning. Councilman Rutherford.
Looking for the council leadership to do something in regards to making sure citizens feel safe in the meetings, and making sure that it's a priority, that there's always someone here, because sometimes citizens who might suffer from PTSD feel bombarded when they have things put in their face every week, and we need to do something to strengthen that. Freedom of speech is one thing, making sure people are safe and violated is another.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Further discussion? Any amendments? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle, on adoption of the resolution ratifying council rules and procedures.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution ratifying the City Council rules and procedures for 2024 has been adopted. The next resolution, or next action, is election of City Council President and City Council President Pro Tem for the 2024 calendar year. The action we just took, the resolution ratifying council rules and procedures, spells out that the election for those two leadership positions does happen annually, as it did for the previous two meetings. I see Councilwoman Rutherford's hand first, but I just want to ask Clerk Doyle if he had any preference for the procedure. It's been a year since we've done it, but where you just want to take nominations from the floor, we should take nominations from the floor for president and then vote on that. Is that?
And then nominations for pro tem and then vote on it.
Okay. So with that, are there any nominations for president? Councilwoman
I
Rutherford.
nominate Mike McGinnis for president. Support.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford and seconded by Councilman Nicholson for Councilman Mike McGinnis to serve as council president, and I accept that nomination. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? With that, Clerk Doyle, there is one nomination for City Council President. How would you like us to do it procedurally?
Since there was only one, can we just call the roll for the vote?
All right.
Just automatic.
So the roll for the acclamation vote. Our rules and procedures require a roll call vote
All
for
right,
everything.
all right.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. Councilman McGinnis is elected for this year for a term as president. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you.
All right, let's go.
And for the sake of time, I'll share my reflections and gratitude afterward. But with that, we are now at election for City Council President Pro Tem. And Councilwoman Rutherford had her hand the first, I think. I apologize. So Councilwoman Rutherford.
Nominate William Carrington for president pro tem.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right. It has been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford, seconded by Councilwoman James. Are there any other nominations? Councilman Nicholson.
I'd like to nominate Councilman McHale Goodman.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. It has been moved or nominated and seconded for pro tem, the pro tem position, William Carrington. That was nominated by Rutherford, seconded by James. Do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And Councilman Goodman has been nominated by Councilman Nicholson and seconded by Councilman Parker. Do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So are there any other nominations for the position of pro tem? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing that, nominations are closed. Clerk Doyle, roll call on which name individuals want to offer up. So it's not a yes/no vote, right? You're offering the name of either Goodman or Carrington as your vote. All right, roll call. Clerk Doyle.
Oh, Mike, okay.
Okay.
Parker,
Carrington.
Rutherford,
Carrington.
Carrington,
Carrington.
Goodman,
Goodman.
James,
Carrington.
McGinnis,
Carrington.
Nicholson.
Goodman.
That is 5 votes for Carrington, 2 votes for Goodman.
William Carrington has been elected for the term. Thank you. So that concludes the leadership elections for the 2024 year, unless something gets crazy and the city council votes midway year to make a change. So we'll work to hopefully keep things in decency and in order. So with that, that concludes that election process. I want to give the floor to Pro Tem Carrington if you want to offer any thoughts or reflections before we move on to the next action item.
Yes, just very brief. I definitely want to thank the council for giving me an opportunity to serve in this capacity for this coming year. Give a few minutes. Order in the chambers. No, but definitely, it's an honor and a privilege to serve in this seat and in this capacity. My responsibility as President Pro Tem is to serve in the capacity of the president when he's unable to be here in the chambers, as well as make suggestions to him based on the feedback from my colleagues. We've done a lot of good the first 2 years. A lot of projects is in the pipeline, and hopefully in 2024, 2025, this great city will see those projects materialize. Some things that I really want to work on this year is, one, community benefit agreements with specification of job creation or job development for our citizens. It's imperative that we look at that this year. Another important ordinance that I'm hoping that we can make sure that we can continue to work on is seeing how we can support a lot of the nonprofits that are actually doing a lot of the work, and seeing how we can get more revenue into those particular nonprofits, hopefully helping to stabilize themselves in this particular community. So I look forward to some of those things. And it's an honor, it's a privilege. I love this city, I love this council. I know we don't always agree on everything, but I know that the 7 people have the best interests of the city of Pontiac and its residents. And again, thank you. And I look forward to working with the administration again this year.
Thank you, sir. And for the sake of time, I'll just briefly express my great appreciation to my council colleagues for signing me up for more work for the next 12 months. It's worth it, but we have such a strong council that the caliber of service and presiding that is needed is strong because you all are so strong. And so I'll work to keep making sure that you are as supported and in strong partnership as possible. All 7 of our districts are very, very much in need and deserving of resources, support, guidance, action. We just need action in every corner of our city. And we've been working hard to deliver that, and there's so much more work ahead. So thank you very much for this humbling responsibility. All right, we are now at adoption of a zoning ordinance amendment to rezone 4 parcels totaling .59 acres at 148 East Howard Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, seconded by Councilman Nicholson for that adoption of a zoning ordinance map amendment. This has been before us previously for a first reading, and so now we will consider the second reading. Mayor Greimel and staff, you have the floor.
Thank you, President McGinnis. As you've already noted, been before council before, but for some additional updates and re-emphasis on some points, I want to give the floor to our planning manager, Mark Yandrick, and his team. So take it away.
Thank you. My name is Corey Christensen. I'm the senior planner here at the City of Pontiac, and I will be presenting on the first case, if I can get it to work. All right, so this is request ZMA 2313. The address is 148 East Howard Street. There's actually 4 parcels in total that will be proposed for rezoning. 2 are proposed to go from R2 residential to C1 commercial, and the other 2 are proposed to go from R2 residential to P1 parking. This is just to give you an idea of where we're at in the process. It has already gone to Planning Commission. It was read before them in an info session. They made a motion. It was voted in favor 5-0. You've already had your first reading in December, and we are now at the second reading. So this gives you an idea of the adjacent zoning. Outlined in red, these are the 4 parcels in question. You'll see there are 2 parcels south of East Howard Street and 2 parcels north of East Howard Street. All 4 are currently zoned R2, which is that deeper yellow color. The lighter color is R1. That is for single-family residential. R2 is for duplexes, multifamily residential. And then the pink, these are your commercial districts. So you'll see along Perry, there's already several C1 zoned commercial properties. There's also some C3 there and some C0 right there.
Next. These are the proposed boundaries of the rezoning. So again, the two parcels on the north side of East Howard are proposed to be P1. The reason this zoning district was chosen was actually on recommendation from the Planning Commission. The idea was there was concern about if we rezoned it to C1 to allow for parking, that it would open up the door to more unsavory uses such as bars or more intense commercial uses. So it was one of the recommendations of the Planning Commission that they go with a P1, which only permits parking. This gives you a view of the property as it existed in August 2018. This is looking from Perry Street down Howard Street. The structure on the left is where the applicant was operating his barbershop out of. The barbershop did suffer a fire recently, necessitating rebuilding, and that's the reason he's coming forward with the rezoning request today. Because he is now rebuilding, he's required to come into compliance with all the current rules. And since the underlying zoning is R2, it meant the only use he could have for the site is residential. But the site has been operating as a commercial use for decades at this point. So it's well established in that location. The applicant is simply seeking to rebuild and improve. This is looking at the adjacent parcel. This is looking south. This is East Howard right here. This is the structure that will be rezoned to the left here, and this is the parcel to the rear. I'm just giving you an idea. It's currently vacant, and it will be incorporated into the gentleman's site plans. And then this is looking north on Howard Street towards the two parcels to the north that will be turned into parking. You can see currently they are vacant, not being used for residential. They have not been for several decades, and is overgrown. This is from a site visit taken in December. This is just a better view of the parcels that will be turned into parking if approved. You can see it's vacant at this point. So to recap, the request is to rezone two parcels on the south side of East Howard from R2 to C1 and two parcels on the north side of East Howard from R2 to P1. The applicant's property experienced a fire recently that necessitates a new structure. Because of this fire, the property has lost its grandfathered status, and the applicant is simply seeking to continue operating the way he has been. The applicant is requesting C1 for the southern two parcels to allow for continued use of the site as a barbershop and for other commercial tenants. And the applicant has requested P1 for the northern two parcels to allow for parking to support his business. P1 was selected rather than C1 because the only use permitted is parking, and therefore neighbors are protected from the more intense C1 uses. At this point, the applicant has not offered any conditions, so it will be a straight rezoning request. And then in staff's opinion, Perry Street is a mixed-use corridor with several uses located along it. You have C1, C3, R1, R2. What the applicant is proposing is perfectly in line with the type of development we're seeing along this street. The property is intended for the barber shop, has historically been used for commercial despite the R2 zoning. The other two parcels to the north have always been residential, but again have been vacant now for 2 decades at least. This is a concept plan provided by the applicant. Just a reminder, this is not site plan review, but this is to give you an idea of what they're looking to do with the property. So you'll see currently the proposal is to have the building stretched on the rear of the parcel and onto the adjacent parcel, with parking accessible off East Howard Street, fronting on Perry Street. These two parcels up here would be what is the proposed parking lot, and the applicant has indicated that they will be providing a crosswalk. And then also just for your note, in the C1 district, any commercial use such as what the applicant is proposing, when it is adjacent to residential, it is required by ordinance to provide a buffer. So I've listed here the options that the applicant has. They are required to provide a type A buffer, but the ordinance provides 2 options for type A buffers. One is a 6-foot masonry wall with 2 deciduous trees planted for every 100 feet. The other option is no wall, but 1 deciduous tree, 6 evergreen, and 8 bushes every 100 feet. This is to give you an idea of what is permitted in the C1 zoning district. It's a mixed-use district intended to accommodate housing units for smaller households and to provide services that cater to the needs of the surrounding residential neighborhood. So C1 is intended to be located near neighborhoods. It's intended to provide those uses that serve people in the immediate neighborhood. Such uses are mixed-use residential, bakeries, banks, bars, business service establishments, childcare, funeral homes, galleries, offices, personal service establishments, pet boarding facilities, places of assembly for less than 50 persons, restaurants, small and medium retail, assisted living, cultural or municipal uses, nursing homes, private clubs, religious institutions, or schools. And then by special exception permit, which means that they would have to come to the Planning Commission to get approval for the use, multifamily apartments, townhouses, automobile services, bed and breakfast, medical clinics, pawn shops, places of assembly for 51 or more persons, retail sales, workshops, cemeteries, community service facilities, parking lots, colleges, large indoor recreation, and greenhouses. And the P1 zoning district is intended to provide specific locations for public or private off-street parking for those uses which are not able to provide adequate on-site parking within their own district boundaries. So the only use permitted in this district is parking, and there are standards that apply to it. The parking area shall be accessory to and for use in connection with one or more businesses or industrial establishments located in an adjacent non-residential district. The parking area shall be used for parking or passenger vehicles for incremental periods of less than 1 day, so no long-term parking of vehicles or storage of vehicles of any kind. No commercial repair work or service of any kind, sale or display shall be conducted in the parking area, and no signs of any kind other than signs designating entrances, exits, and conditions of use shall be maintained on such parking areas. So there are 10 standards of approval that you'll want to think about when you're making your decision. The first is consistency with the goals, policies, and objectives of the master plan. The second is compatibility of the site's environmental features. The third is evidence the applicant cannot receive a reasonable return on investment under the current zoning. Compatibility of all the potential uses with surrounding uses. The capacity of the city's utilities and services. Next. The capability of the street system. The boundaries of the requested rezoning district. The requested zoning district is considered to be more appropriate. And rezoning the land is considered to be more appropriate than amending the list of permitted or special land uses. And lastly, rezoning will not create an isolated or incompatible zone. So in staff's response to these conditions, we've found that the site has operated as a commercial property for as long as the city has records on this parcel. Approval of this rezoning is necessary if the property is to be redeveloped as a business. There are many properties along Perry Street that are zoned commercial. The requested districts are the least change necessary to achieve the applicant's goals for redevelopment, and it would not be appropriate to amend the R2 zoning district to allow personal service establishments or parking. Requesting a rezoning is more reasonable. And with that, the Planning Commission recommendation was approval 5-0.
All right, thank you. Manager Yandrick and then Pro Tem Carrington.
And thank you, Corey, for that presentation. I just wanted to set the tone that the applicant's concept plan that you saw as part of that presentation has not gone through zoning review, but it would to make sure it met the setback requirements, the stormwater requirements, the parking requirements. And those are things that the applicant is not, while there's a barber shop intended, it's not fully proposed in tonight's rezoning. So really, it's just to give City Council and the public an idea of what's being considered, but in no way, shape, or form, because there are not conditions being offered, the applicant is not bound to that. They're only bound to the regulations of the zoning district for which the property or properties are zoned. So thank you.
Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. So, Mr., you can stay to the mic. And you, since this is, we're rezoning this to C1, right? And you say since there's no conditions, the applicant is not bound to build a barbershop.
They would be allowed to, correct. They would be allowed to build whatever they wanted as long as it was a permitted use within a C1 district. If it was a special exception, they would need to go to Planning Commission for that approval.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Councilman Parker.
Thank you, Brother President. I just want to ask, I was looking at the pictures, and one of the pictures shows some overgrowth in that specific area that they were talking about making into a parking lot. And I just want to make sure, and I believe the owner of that property is here, and I think when we discussed it last time, it was going to, the owner would assume all the expense of clearing the area, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I think.
But this, what we're looking at right here, Councilman Parker, that overgrowth, that's from a while ago.
Yeah.
And is the next picture more recent, showing?
That's it.
So you can see there's still some brush near the front there that will have to be cleared.
But the current property owner is doing a much more solid job of maintaining even in its vacant land condition than the overgrowth. So am I understanding that right? We're looking at the
Yes.
similar, okay.
Yeah, I
make
mean,
sure
this is a slightly different perspective, but same property 4 years later.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me.
Councilman Rutherford.
So there's been no accommodations, correct? That's what you said earlier, that the applicant has not offered any accommodations. So
Yes.
my question is, how do we safeguard this property to ensuring that it stays to be a barbershop? Because that's my only hesitation, is that we vote for this, and I know, I need him to say it on record, thank you. How do we safeguard this?
Any of the uses permitted in C1 would be permitted if this rezoning was approved. There would be nothing limiting them specifically to a barber shop.
And rename those things they could do again?
Sure, that's like. So these are the list of uses. The ones in the middle paragraph there are permitted by right, meaning there would be no planning commission review. Those listed under a special exception permit would have to receive planning commission review. So the permitted by right, do you want me to read all of them?
No, I see them. I just wanted to make sure that we all were like aware so that I know how to vote. That's all. I got it.
Further discussion? I want to thank the applicant for still wanting to commit to Pontiac, because I have to imagine the fire sucked. And I'm so sorry that that happened, that you've had to contend with that. I'm pleased to hear that demolition is moving forward, so you're working to clean up the site with the aftermath of that disaster. And I'm pleased that you took the Planning Commission's feedback about trying to create those buffers, because it's a unique area where it transitions from commercial into residential. And with any of our commercial corridors, we're always trying to contend with how do we protect the residents that live nearby, because many of us can probably know firsthand about how rough it can be if there's a really intense business use and then you have somebody's house right next to it or right by it. It can be problematic. And so obviously with the P1, the planning commissioners who offered that feedback, it kind of like sets it as parking is the buffer between the residential and the commercial use. And so I just want to offer that feedback. Was there a hand, Pro Tem?
Yes. I just want to say that I did have an opportunity to go to the site, and I tried to talk to that particular homeowner 3 times in the last past several days, and I didn't get any answers. And looking at the area, I'm actually okay with this particular project. But I'm also want to let the owner know that I'm a stickler for making sure that all our code ordinances is followed on these properties. So hopefully, if you get the opportunity and the council approves it, I'm hoping that this will be a successful business all over again. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor Grimo.
Yeah, I too want to thank the business owner for their continued commitment to the city. I also want to note that the uses allowed by C1 are very common along the Perry Road corridor. And so although this would be a rezoning to C1, if you look at some of those uses, like a funeral home, like various retail operations, those are quite common there along Perry. And this obviously is just off of Perry, and so I think it certainly is a appropriate rezoning in light of the other uses that exist already along Perry.
Councilman Rutherford?
So I won't approve it because I believe in what y'all trying to do. I just want to make sure we do the best. So finish what you start. That's my only request. That's it.
Any further discussion before us? Hearing nothing further, speakers list is exhausted. What's before us is adoption of a zoning ordinance map amendment to rezone 4 parcels at 148 East Howard Street. With that, Clerk Doyle, roll call.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
I don't have a mic, but yes.
Oh, sorry.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
7 yeas.
7-0, that motion carries. The rezoning is approved. Best wishes to you, Mr. Stevenson, and thank you for your continued commitment to your Pontiac neighbors. All right, We are now at adoption of a zoning ordinance text amendment to amend Article 2, Section 3, Section 2.301, Article 2, Chapter 3, Section 2.304, Article 6, Chapter 5, Section 6.506 regarding minimum lot width. Is there a motion?
Moved by Carrington.
It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman Rutherford. That motion is now before us. We give the floor to the mayor and staff to cue that up.
Again, this is the second time it's been before us, and so I want to turn it over to Christian once more.
Thank you. So today is a city staff-initiated text amendment to reduce the minimum lot width in the R1 zoning district from 60 feet to 40 feet. We're proposing alterations to 3 sections of the code listed there. This is the process, just as in the last case we heard. We are at the final step. There's already been a reading before this body, and it has been approved by the Planning Commission. The vote was 5-1. As some background, the following is a city-initiated text amendment to reduce the minimum lot width requirement from 60 feet to 40 feet in the R1 zoning district only. There are 2 other zoning districts, R1A and R1B. Those would not be included in this request. Those zoning districts are kind of special modifications of the R1. They're mostly found at the northern end of our city. Those will be remaining how they are, and they're supposed to have wider lot widths. The 60-foot standard that we have now was established in the 1990s as a way to increase housing size, lot size, and property values in the neighborhoods. In that time, we've seen more demolitions. We haven't really seen that the intended impacts of this change have come to fruition. Consequently, there are a large number of non-conforming parcels in the city prohibited from redevelopment despite having a lot dimension consistent with the historical norm of residential development in Pontiac. Many non-conforming parcels are permitted to be developed if more than 50% of parcels within 500 feet have reduced lot widths. However, this provision is poorly located in the zoning ordinance and can be confusing. Almost everything you need to know is located in the R1 section of the zoning ordinance in Chapter 2. This little footnote is all the way in Chapter 6, so it's kind of not intuitive where it's located. This text amendment was requested to reduce confusion and establish a consistent standard. The 3 proposed changes that we are proposing, the first is to Table 3 found in Section 2.301 and the table found in Section 2.304. Both are modified to state the new minimum lot width of 40 feet. We're proposing a footnote to be added that will clarify that the required minimum lot width is modified by the average width found nearby. This provides the information property owners need in one easy-to-find location within the zoning ordinance. And then lastly, we would strike the language that was found in Section 6. We're basically moving it up to Section 2. This is to provide an example to illustrate the kind of change we're proposing. You'll notice this is a current aerial of a neighborhood. This property here looks like in the past it was combined, 2 45-foot wide lots combined to create a 90-foot lot or 90-foot wide lot. Under the current regulations, this property owner would not be permitted to split that property and redevelop this section because doing so would create properties with a width of less than 60 feet, even though most of the properties in the neighborhood are 40 feet wide. So for that reason, by adopting this change, it would permit this property owner to split their property and redevelop. This is the text that we're proposing to be added to table in Section 2.304. It reads, lot width may not be less than the width of the majority, 50% or more, of lots in the surrounding area that are developed with existing single-family dwellings. Surrounding area shall be defined as all of the lots abutting either side of the streets that abut the lot in question and which are also located within 500 feet of said lot. For example, if a parcel is 80 feet wide and the majority of parcels along the same street and within 500 feet of the property are 50 feet wide, then the subject parcel could not be split as it would create 2 parcels with frontages less than the street average. In summary, these amendments are not transformative because it allows subdivisions and home construction similar to the layout of existing surrounding neighborhoods. This would not impact the R1A and R1B zone development standards, which allows for larger lots. These zones are located on the periphery of the city, like along Walton Boulevard. And this ordinance also cleans up the ordinance to make it easier for residents and property owners to understand the regulations. And with that, the motion was to approve, and it was 5-1 by the Planning Commission.
All right, with that, discussion on the motion before us. This was before us for a first time, so we continue the conversation now with the second reading. Councilman Parker.
Just real quick. Thank you, Brother President. So if originally I buy the lot and it's 40 feet, and and there's a house next to it, but then something happens and I buy that next lot, which makes my property now 80 feet, you're telling me that's okay, but I can put another building back there and still be within the zoning requirements?
So under the current requirements in that scenario, you could purchase the neighboring lot that's 40 feet wide. You could combine your properties to create an 80-foot wide lot, but you could not divide it again, because doing so would break the rules and create a property under 60 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Councilman James.
Could you show the actual language of the changes that you're going to have?
Yeah.
Because that's not in our packet.
So this is, the only part that I actually have in the PowerPoint presentation is the footnote we're proposing to be added. So this is the language that we're proposing to be added.
Why don't you have just a basic statement of the change that, the 40 feet would be the minimum?
So those changes will be to the tables found in section 2. There's
You're going to add those to the tables?
Yes, yep. So here are the 3 changes we're proposing. Table 3 and the table found in section 2.304, both of those state currently the width requirement is 60 feet. We're proposing to just change that to 40. And then the actual text we're proposing to add is that footnote, which can be found here.
Any further discussion? All right, and again, as we shared at the first reading, this does not impact some of those newer subdivisions in the north end of the city, like along Walton Boulevard. Those are a different set of residential zoning, and so this change would not be applicable there. And also, if you live on a block and there's sort of a standard or a set amount of lot size, if this is like the only lot that's 40 feet, it's not buildable because and I want to confirm that my understanding is correct, because 50% of your surrounding properties, your surrounding neighbors, they have that larger setting. The whole idea is to try and create cohesive neighborhoods that feel whole and harmonious. And for many of our east side neighborhoods, that is 40 feet. What feels not harmonious and doesn't feel whole is that we just have these every scattered empty land that can't be built on, and preventing the neighborhood from being more, rebuilt or cohesive. So, what was my understanding correct? It's the standard of 50% of the surrounding properties. Is it within a certain feet or?
Within 500 feet.
Within 500 feet, okay. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, roll call Clerk Doyle on adoption of the zoning ordinance text amendment.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The zoning ordinance text amendment is adopted. Is there a motion for adoption of a zoning ordinance text amendment of
So
Chapter
moved.
9, Section 6.902, subsection B, subsection 3, to increase the buffer distance for notices from 300 feet to 500 feet, and to require public notification signs for properties subject to a public hearing? It has been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Goodman. Mayor and staff, you have the floor.
Thank you, President McGinnis. As we discussed 2 weeks ago, we want to make sure that we're letting as many people as possible know about possible rezonings that are occurring. We believe that we need to be fully transparent with the public, and although the city, at least for as long as I can remember, has had this notification rule of 300 feet, which is the minimum required by the state, we want to expand that so that rezonings and certain other planning matters have to be noticed specifically to people within a larger radius of 500 feet. We also want to make sure that we're putting signs on any properties where there's a planning decision requiring a public hearing, so that people driving by that property will be alerted to it, even if they live beyond 500 feet. So we just want to make sure that we're changing the rules to be more transparent, to let more residents and neighborhoods know about proposed changes to zoning ordinances and other planning matters to be fully transparent and to solicit that community feedback, which we believe is very important. And with that, Planning Manager Yandrick, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. So just a brief presentation, just sharing that this zoning text amendment is regarding 6.902 of the city zoning code having to do with the public hearing notice. This is the process this application has gone forward. It went for public hearing at December 6th for Planning Commission, and again tonight, or this afternoon, is the second reading. So the current public hearing notice regulations in the city zoning code require the following 15 days before a public hearing. Notice in Oakland Press, and that is state law, not Oakland Press necessarily, but in a regular circulated newspaper, and mailings for all properties within 300 feet of the subject property for a public hearing. And this, again, complies with the minimum requirements of the Zoning Enabling Act. No current postings on site are required from our zoning ordinance. So what this ordinance accomplishes is it increases the public mailing of these public hearing notices from 300 feet to 500 feet, and it requires the applicant to post signage for rezonings, special exceptions, and alley vacations, and specifies the area that they would be required to do. Now, number one is the onus is on the city for the additional mailings that we would be sending out to the residents. Number two would be on the applicant to receive a template from the city with the required information, and they would be required to order that, and generally with temporary sign companies that could be ordered within a day or two. But there are requirements here and penalties if this process is not followed, and they would need to actually post it on the 15-day notice and actually send a photo to city staff. Otherwise, the public hearing may be delayed. So just a summary, these amendments increase the transparency about upcoming public hearings by doing the following. One, it increases the buffer distance for public notice and mailings for all public hearings. And two, it requires the applicant to post that signage and just get the word out to help Planning Commission in their fact-finding mission understand when a proposal is before them within a specific neighborhood. So Planning Commission recommended approval of this zoning text amendment 6-0 on December 6th, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rutherford, followed by Councilman Goodman.
Just a comment, I think to the administration and to you guys, I appreciate you guys doing this because oftentimes it's a question of transparency, and this gives more teeth into making sure that people know about what's coming in their district, how they're going to be notified. And so I just applaud you and appreciate you for doing so. That's it.
Councilman Goodman.
I want to say a personal thank you to you, Mark, because me and you have had a discussion specifically about this multiple times over. There are cities all across Southeast Michigan, all across Oakland County. I mean, if you take your butt straight to Rochester Hills, they have the triangular shaped signs that are visible on three sides that publicize to almost everyone that can drive past it about what's happening. And we have needed that in the city for forever, but especially now that we're doing all of these changes in the city, people need to know what's happening. I mean, the many nights that we've had with public comment and for public hearings, people don't know about them, and this is a very simple, easy way that we can do that. So I'm very, very happy to see this being changed in terms of how we do things, and then also making it to where it's the applicant's responsibility to do it. The only thing I want to say is hopefully that works out because however, I do see there possibly being some need that the city purchases some signs in regards to changes such as that we may need in case for whatever reason when we're doing rezonings or anything that may require signage. So I know that we're putting it on the applicant, but I think it might also be useful for ourselves to have a few that are in our possession as a city for related purposes.
Further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle on the adoption of a zoning ordinance text amendment.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The zoning ordinance text amendment is adopted. We are at number 6 now. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the
So
proposed
moved.
budget amendments?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Parker. We give the floor now to the mayor and administration, but I can quickly recap. This is for the current fiscal year, increasing the general ledger account number 249-371-702.000, salary and wages account by $22,499.99, GL 249-371-718.500, 401A employer cost account by $900, GL 249-371-716.000, medical insurance by $5,887.50, GL 249-371-719.001, dental by $568, GL 249-371-716.011, hearing by $5, GL 249-371-717.000, life insurance by $928, GL 249-371-719.000, workers' comp by $500, GL 249-371-725.000, sick and vacation by $216.35, GL 249-371-707.003, and GL 249-371-977.002 vehicles by $29,308. These proposed budget amendments are for changing a part-time code enforcement officer position to full-time and the lease of a 2024 Chevrolet Equinox for code enforcement. So with that, Mayor and staff.
Thank you. We touched on this briefly a couple weeks ago when we voted on the publishing of the notice for the budget amendment. But this is about transitioning one code enforcement officer from a part-time role to a full-time role and making sure that we're allocating enough funding to make that a reality, as well as for the lease of a code enforcement vehicle for that individual. And to get into more details about why we're doing this, I want to turn it over to our code enforcement manager, Jack McIntyre.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year. What we're finding is that in order to have sufficient coverage Tuesday through Saturday, or actually Monday morning and then Tuesday evening and through Saturday, it's necessary for us to take the part-time person that's been working the afternoon shift and move them to a full-time position. It's a challenge if someone calls in sick, making sure that we have enough coverage for downtown parking. And then I think originally when we thought about this, we didn't really anticipate the need for them to be in a vehicle driving around the various points of the city that we do enforce, and so that's why, in addition, we're asking for the extra vehicle.
Any discussion? Councilman James.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, was this position, upgrading this position, is this going to be within your budget for 2023, 24? Or is this coming out of general fund? Is this, in other words, does this exceed your, upgrading this position to a full-time position, would that exceed your allotted budget?
It would regarding the vehicle, but I don't believe it would with salary and compensation.
Okay.
Further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list is exhausted. This was before us 2 weeks ago when we authorized the posting of the budget amendment, and now here it is again. Roll call, Clerk Doyle on adoption of the resolution.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted and the budget is hereby approved. Number 7, is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the contract for assistance with retirement funds by Titan Wealth Management? Moved by Councilman Rutherford. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilwoman James. It's now before us for consideration. Mayor and staff, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, President McGinnis. I'm going to turn it over in a moment to some staff to get into all of the details, but I did want to bring council's attention to a proposed amendment to the contract that is being proposed here. So I have passed that out. Hopefully you all have it or will soon have it. And I want to turn it over to the deputy mayor to talk about why we're proposing this agreement and also to touch on this proposed amendment to it. It's a amendment of basically one sentence, so the deputy mayor can speak to the details of that.
Thank you, Mayor. President.
Go for it,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. All right, so you have in front of you a contract with Titan Wealth Management to work on our retirement programs. When we set the agenda for this week, the agreement was still being finalized by the city attorney, and the only way to give city council sufficient time to review it was to send it to you, knowing that there was a potential that there may be some changes to the agreement. Those changes are in red. There are essentially two changes that have been made. The first change is that the arbitration clause has been taken out completely, and the second change is that the indemnification language has been modified to an extent that is actually acceptable for city purposes. The original indemnification had the city holding the company harmless, and we cannot do that. So the major change is that it says to the extent provided by law. So those are the changes to the agreement beyond what you have already seen in your packages. And this agreement itself, or this request itself, had been vetted through the HR and Finance Subcommittee to, again, have an outside company come and work on our retirement programs. As you may have heard, we currently have a 401A program, and once anyone makes an election to that program, they are not able to change that election. So if they decided to put money into it, however much money they are putting in, they can never change that amount. If they decided not to put any money in, they are not able to put any money in going forward in the future. So this is to hire someone to make changes to that so that we actually have a program which is flexible for our employees.
All right, sounds like it's a welcome change, but since we are receiving it now, I'd like to entertain a motion to postpone for 1 week.
Moved by Carrington.
It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, second by Councilwoman Rutherford, that we postpone this resolution for 1 week until the next regular city council meeting, which is January 9th. Any discussion on the motion to postpone? Any administration concern?
I welcome that and think it's appropriate.
Okay, Councilman Parker.
I did want to make note that as looking through the packet, there seems to be 2 page 6s.
Okay.
And so probably that correction. And I think as I was looking through the packet, the changes that were submitted today, as I read my packet, are indeed this change. So thank you.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we need to do.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion to postpone for 1 week? Hearing nothing further, roll call Clerk Doyle on postponement.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
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 Yes. That motion carries. It's postponed. It'll be before us at next week's city council meeting. We are now at our 2 discussion items. The first, this was discussed last week. We want to make sure everyone is aware that the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development has announced $10 million in rehabilitation funding for North Hill Farms in Pontiac, and that's in Councilman Goodman's District 3, and he's holding a community forum on the topic, so I want to give the floor to him to share.
Yeah, so just to reiterate some things from last week, I am holding a town hall, and our district meeting will also be the same day, tomorrow, from 5 to 7 at North Hill Farms in the clubhouse to discuss the $10 million that HUD has given them to do repairs, renovations, and the like, to hopefully improve the quality of life for people who live over there currently. So making sure that we, both as residents, because I do live less than 2 minutes down the road, know what's happening. Where a lot of people in my district live at, but what's happening in our backyard, and what is being done with all this money that should be able to decently transform some people's living situations. So hopefully, we're having the chance to hear from the management company on all of that, giving the residents a chance to ask questions, giving myself and the mayor a chance to ask questions, again, as well as holding our District 3 meeting. That way we have a chance to discuss about things that have been happening in the city and in district. I don't know if the mayor has anything that he would like to add through the chair.
Mayor Granville.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have a lot to add, but I do want to thank Councilman Goodman for his leadership, both in helping to secure this funding for improvements in North Hill Farms, and also for organizing and hosting this town hall. At his invitation, I'm looking forward to being there tomorrow evening, and hope we'll have a lot of folks from the community, especially from North Hill Farms, come out to celebrate this good news, but also to make sure that this is implemented in a way that really maximizes the benefit to the residents at North Hill Farms.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rutherford.
Councilman Goodman, you forgot to mention about the coats.
And thank you for that reminder. So I will also be giving out a bunch of coats, first come, first serve, to people who come to the town hall. For anyone who shows up, mainly being district residents, hopefully to come out from North Hill Farms, but anyone is available to come grab a coat. But first come, first serve. There is no registration for sizes. You get what you get. Hopefully you get there in enough time to get what you need. So thank you.
All right, so again, that's January 4th, 2024. That's Thursday from 5 to 7 at the North Hill Farms Clubhouse. Thank you, Councilman Goodman, for taking that initiative. I just want to take a point of personal privilege to give a shout out. I believe today is the first day at the gig, but if we can give a warm Pontiac, Michigan welcome to our new Parks and Recreations Director who is in the building. He's giving a wave in the back, but a round of applause. Welcome again. You met him virtually the other week when the City Council unanimously voted to approve the mayor's appointment to the role, and so we welcome you, Mr. Director. All right, our final discussion item, Councilwoman James had requested that we add on the agenda an inquiry to the administration on the demolition status of the former McConnell School. You may remember that the taxpayers of Pontiac, we purchased that site for the future Youth Recreation Center, and so we're curious where the matter stands for the ground has been broken. We want to know when the demolition can be progressing. Mayor Grimel, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Stevens to give us a full update on where things stand and what next steps are.
Thank you, Mayor, Council President. So the McCarroll School, where we are currently is the engineering team is reviewing the due care plan, demo plans, and specs to create a draft RFP that will go out. We hope that that draft RFP will be able to be finalized and released next week. It may be 2 weeks before it goes out. To give you a little bit, so that is where we are. To give you a little bit of background, we had originally released an RFP for demolition of a number of buildings. The McCarroll School building was included in that list of buildings for demolition in that RFP. And so we do have an idea of how much it will cost, but unfortunately, because the building is over 50 years old and because it is going to cost more than $10,000 to demolish, there were additional steps that we needed to take. So we had to pull it off of that list of buildings and go back through this process.
Okay. Councilwoman James, you moved to add that discussion item. Do you want to have the first discussion?
Well, I just want to make sure I understand the details of what you're saying, that even though we have an estimate of the cost of removing the building, you've pulled it out to make it a separate project now, and that's going to take another 2 weeks, you say, before that RFP is published?
That is correct. And the reason for pulling it out is because of the age of the building and the estimated cost of the demolition, it needed to go through a different RFP process.
Well, you know, I guess with all due respect, though, we knew the building was over 50 years old. So, you know, again, this is our highest priority for this year, and we simply have to pay attention to time here. So I don't know what to say.
Councilwoman Rutherford, Councilman Parker, Mayor and Deputy Mayor.
So here's my issue with all of this. Originally, we had it was Purdue and 2 other buildings that was included in the RFP. Is that right? I'm yielding to him, correct?
Deputy Mayor is responding yes.
Okay, and so now we're back to square one on Purdue and McCarroll and and the building that's on University. Am I to understand that?
Deputy Mayor.
Purdue and McCarroll, correct.
Okay. So in our subcommittee meeting, which we have at the end of the month, I will be expecting some updates because we have told people what you have given us. You originally told us that the RP was out, then y'all pulled it back. That wasn't told to us till you just told us today. 2, the citizens don't understand what's really happening. And so we have to do a better job of communicating what's the timeline because this, not only is this the biggest priority, some of us ran saying this was going to be built in 4 years. Some of us made promises that this was going to be done, and the clock is ticking. So I'm saying it like that to be as transparent as I possibly can. It can't be 6 months from now, we're still waiting on the RFP. It can't be, and then what happened to the other, and I'm yielding to you, so you can ask them this, what happened to the original people that bid for that original RFP? Do they have to rebid again because you separated them? Because I'm not understanding, because the original one had McCarroll and Purdue on it, correct? And it was people that bid on it. Does that mean they have to start all over from scratch because of this?
We give the floor to the Deputy Mayor.
The answer to that question is yes. Councilman McGinnis, would you like me to elaborate, or do you want me to wait until? Okay. So the elaboration to that is, again, understanding the concept that time was of the essence. The administration moved as quickly as we could in getting an RFP out to have the building demolished. At the time that we did that, we did not have an engineer on staff with us. When we went to get an engineer on staff with us, that would be the engineer that we have through DLZ, that engineer reviewed what we had done and said, you can't do this because the building is over 50 years old, and additionally, you can't do this because the building will cost more than $10,000 to demolish. There is a state law that perhaps you were not aware of because this is not what you do every day, and you did not have an engineer on staff and moved as quickly as you could. And so because of that, we had to take this building out and go through the state process, which is why we had to do a new process for it. And that new process requires that you have to have a demolition plan, which is what is being worked on now.
Next on the speakers list, Councilman Parker.
Thank you, sir. I certainly don't want to be adversarial here, but at what point did we not have an engineer? Because I believe when Mr. Siddiqui, who was our engineer, left, we had a company that was working with him that was here. I thought we had some engineers because we paid some money for some engineers to be able to do that. So I'm curious, and aside from the fact that I know we didn't even consider demolishing Ewalt's, but that's a whole different subject. At what point did we not have engineers? And the other point is, as we're going back through this hazardous material or hazardous waste material demolition and removal a part of why this has to be redone?
Deputy Mayor, you have the floor.
So we have not had a city engineer since Mr. Siddiqui left. We do have low-level engineering staff, but this is above and beyond what it is that they do. Your second part of the question?
It's hazardous waste.
Hazardous waste, yes.
To increase the pricing of this, was that included when we originally did it?
That should have been included when it was originally done, but again, it has to specifically be called out as part of the plan for demolition.
So it's going to increase? I'm sure.
It may increase because, like I said, that was included, but it was not specifically called out.
Thank you.
Mayor Grimel.
Yeah, so let me just begin by saying that we agree with everything that's being said. Yes, it's on us ultimately at the end of the day that we didn't know about this state law that requires specific plans and specifications to be prepared. And that's our job to know that ultimately, or to have the right people on board who know that. So that's just a mea culpa on our end. I will say that we agree with the urgency here, and the urgency here, in terms of the demolition, is more about getting rid of the eyesore, because that's not the limiting factor in getting the youth rec building built. The limiting factor in getting the youth rec building built is getting it designed and moving forward with that. And as I think council is aware, we do have interviews that will be coming up this month to interview design and engineering firms and architectural firms with an eye towards hiring the best possible firm to design the new facility. So the delay in demolition is a problem because we've got an eyesore there that needs to come down, but the delay in demolition is not going to ultimately delay the construction of a new youth rec center. I do just want to emphasize that.
Okay. On follow-up, Councilwoman Rutherford.
Okay. So you just stated, Mayor, that you guys are about to do interviews. What's the timeline for these interviews being taken place so that we can actually have a design? Will it be by spring? Will it be by state of the city? Like an actual timeline when the actual design, once you do from the interview part to design, do you have a actual timeline?
Yeah, so
Mayor Kribel.
the interviews are going to occur this month, and we anticipate quickly bringing a recommendation before council after that. We are including several council members in that interview process. We want to make sure that this is a design firm that everybody feels comfortable with. I think that's going to be one of the questions we solicit from the design firms, is how quickly they can do this, because I think the answer to that question is going to depend on the firm.
Further discussion? Councilman James?
Well, just in follow-up from Councilwoman Rutherford's question, I'm wondering, who do we get that construction plan or the plan from? Does that come from the design firm or the construction firm? Where would we get that plan from?
The demolition plan?
No, not the demolition. This is the actual construction plan for how long it's going to take, the timeline that she talked about.
So that will come in two parts. That will come from the actual design firm. And then once the design firm is selected and through the interview process with the design firm, we will hear which each firm says, like, I can do it in 3 months, I can do it in 2 months, I can do it in 50 days, whatever it is that they say, and we hold them accountable to that. Once that is done, then it will be handed off to a construction manager who will then say, the construction of this building will be 30 days, 120 days, whatever the answer is.
So that's really the timeline that we're going to be working to, is that construction manager's timeline. Once he's given the design frame timeline, then he'll set up the construction timeline. Okay.
Councilman Parker?
And so you brought me to my next question. I thought somewhere in the last 2 or 3 months, we approved a internal construction manager, and will they be included in this process if we have actually hired that position? And if not, are we dependent upon the other person, the person who's doing the constructions, drafting for the design?
Mayor Grimel?
We did not approve an in-house construction manager. I know there was a lot of discussion about this agenda topic, but what we did was modify the city's ordinance to give us more flexibility in terms of who we hire on the outside and how we organize outside contractors to do this work, so that it could be a construction manager-led effort rather than a general contractor-led effort, so that we'd have more flexibility about how we want to have architects and engineers and builders work together. But it's not about having an internal in-house construction manager position.
Further discussion? Councilman Goodman?
So this whole conversation brings me to another question that I have, and it's been mentioned. So to quote you correctly, we don't have a city engineer still. How long have we not had a city engineer? Asking through the president.
Abdul Siddiqui departed in the spring of 2022. Maybe it was April.
That sounds correct, and we have a contracted engineer now.
Correct. I guess I'm asking a wide shooting question of, do we have any desire or purpose or timeline to have a city engineer once again, similar to how we had with Abdul Siddiqui when he worked for the city of Pontiac?
Short answer to that question is yes. The long answer to that question is, as council knows, we are very competitive on some things. Salary is definitely not one of them. And we have found it difficult to recruit a city engineer because unlike other positions, the city engineering position is not a position that is limited to government. So being competitive in a governmental salary is not enough. We are actually competing directly with the private sector on that salary. And we do have the preliminary results from our wage and salary study that I have spoken with Councilman Nicholson about, that I would like to go over with him one more time before presenting it to the entire council to act on.
Just to make the statement, we need to get that resolved sooner rather than later. Because I know me and my colleagues have mentioned about a city engineer both when we originally lost them and since then. And I just want to stress the importance that while we have a lovely firm that is working for us and is doing a great job, it is kind of incumbent and very important for the city to have a city engineer, especially in situations like this. So I want to push strongly. I want to ask heavily that we move more directly down that pathway, especially now with having the wage study done that we've been waiting on in regards to multiple positions.
Councilman Rutherford, followed by Mayor Grimel.
I'm requesting that in our subcommittee meeting that we have actual timelines and dates given to me, because Building and Facilities is my subcommittee. I'm asking my members, President McGinnis and Pro Tem, to be there because we have to have some tangible information. We can't say it's going to be done this month. We need an actual timeline. And the reason why I'm stressing it openly is because of this. People made promises. People are looking for results. And at the end of the day, if we cannot produce, what does that speak of this administration? We were supposed to get stuff done. It's not done. I'm sorry. That's what it is. We were supposed to have this RPP done. It's not done. And we got to do it again. So my frustration and the hostility that you're feeling is because if you would have told us these things before we got out here, we could have better handled it. Nobody knew that a new RP, I did not know that a new RFP had to be put out. I don't believe that Ms. James knew as well. And so I'm starting to feel like there's not a sense of urgency. And I hear what you're saying, but your actions don't dictate with your words. So again, at our subcommittee meeting, I'm asking for an actual timeline. When is it going to start? When is it going to finish? This is who we interviewed. This is what we did. This is what we're doing. Because it has to be tangible. That's what the problem is. That's what's causing all of the confusion, is because nobody knows what is going on. No one knows what is going on. And the residents don't care about any of this stuff. They care about one thing. They want a youth center built. And that's it. That's it.
Mayor Grimel.
We agree, Councilwoman, and I want to assure you that we do have a sense of urgency, and we just spoke about this, the Deputy Mayor and I, a couple weeks ago, as well as about the need, now that we've done the compensation study, to utilize a new adjusted salary level for the city engineer in order to attract a good in-house engineer. We agree, Councilman Goodman, that we absolutely need an in-house engineer here in Pontiac. I would note that lots of cities don't have in-house city engineers and only use contracted outside engineers for their city engineer work, but we don't think that's appropriate or sufficient here in the city of Pontiac. So I say that just to say that the practice that we've had for the past 2 years of utilizing outside engineers for that role is not unusual. There are lots of cities that do that, but we do agree with you that we need an in-house city engineer here in Pontiac. And now that we've done the compensation study, we will be moving very quickly to secure a new person in that position. It is a very difficult labor market in general. I think everyone's aware of that from the perspective of employers. It's a very difficult labor market to hire people. It's a very tight labor market. So it's not easy, not just for municipalities to hire engineers, it's tough for the private sector to hire engineers. So I want to be clear about the challenges that we're facing in this regard, but we agree that we need an in-house city engineer, and now that we have, or soon we'll have, a new salary level to utilize to seek an in-house engineer, we intend to do so.
All right, Councilwoman James?
Just in closing, I do want to say that we are fortunate to have Shannon Filarecki, who is the contract engineer that we currently have. She has amazing credentials, and we're fortunate to have her. So I just want to say, even I agree with you that we do need to have our own, permanent engineer, but we absolutely have an outstanding person holding the fort with that position.
All right, so we will, City Council will actively continue to follow up to seek status and share it with the community as we get the information as well. Deputy Mayor, you had mentioned with engineering staff, you used the term low level. I just want to state that I'm sure you didn't intend for it to come off as dismissive, because they are valued members of and capable professionals, but in terms of classification, there's a different classification from the city engineer versus engineering staff.
So absolutely, and I apologize if anyone took it that way. The idea was merely to say that there are items that are administrative, and there are items that are grind, day-to-day, doing the math. I can't do the work that the engineers do, right? So for me to say that they are low level is not to say that they are less than. It's to say that the understanding and knowing about that specific state law is something that is beyond what they are expected to do.
Hearing nothing further with this discussion, we will continue to revisit the matter. We are now at public comment. Pro Tem, who's the first request for today's public comment?
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Mr. Carlton Jones.
I guess I got to speak to this. I do have some professional service and construction coordination background for the city and the school district. Mayor, I appreciate you coming forward and saying what you're saying and being honest. And I want council to know this, whether we have an in-house or we have a contracted engineer, they hold responsibility. Just like you said, Mayor, a lot of cities don't have in-house. They hold responsibility. So don't give a contract engineering firm a pass. Don't give them a pass. We paying them for their professional services. They should deliver and be held accountable. So whether we get an in-house one or not, as long as we got this contracted service, they got to be held responsible. Now, if I'm not mistaken, some of this came up when we was talking about what delivery method. Now, I understand most people don't understand construction. It's very difficult. But I'm going to tell you, if we want to expedite this, we need to consider that we have one source of responsibility. You have a construction manager, you have an architecture firm, you have construction contractors. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen right now. The buck will be passed. The buck will be passed and we'll pay. When it's delays, when it's change orders, when all that stuff come up, and it's passed on to say it was missed in the design or something like that, it will be passed on and we will pay. The best way to expedite a project is to do a design build format that whoever is managing it is responsible for designing it, and it all is in one lump sum as a firm price. Now, we need to investigate whether we can do it that way, but that's in our best interest. Now, I wanted to talk on public comments about workforce development. Mayor, I hope you was listening to Council Pro Tem when he started talking about the goals. We talking about community benefits. We talking about workforce development. That will help us here in Pontiac more than anything else. I know I've been saying this, but I'm trying to say we need to understand when we get grants, we get everything in here, there's no reason contractors would love to say how they can do OJT. You just got to put it in there. That's not a cost factor. That you do some OJT.
15 seconds remaining.
Okay, you do some OJT when you're doing these grants and contracts. And then it's the opportunity for our people to benefit from it. So, Mayor, I think if that's a goal, Councilman Pro Tem, I think those are some great goals, and I want to do everything I can to try to help support that we do that this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Renee Beckley.
I have news for you. I'm not going to let that Mark Twain School vote go. I'm not. You, Tim, and the city council, you brought yourself some trouble. Now, there's a plant in Detroit called GM Zero Factory. They produce those electric batteries, what you plan to put at Mark Twain School, in the middle of the neighborhood, surrounded by houses. They had a fire. This is from WDIV News. And this just happened December the 21st. Those type of fires, you cannot put them out like a normal fire. So for some reason, electrical batteries do not go out on particularly water. You have to keep putting them, and they have to get special equipment to put the fire out. And I'm going to read to you so you won't think. They had to request a usual number of firefighters, triple the usual number, to put that fire out. The Detroit fire crew said they've been to this plant at least 6 times since August due to various issues. They weren't all battery related, but some of those fires were battery related. Putting out the EV battery fire has proven to be challenges tasks for firefighters in the Metro Detroit and around the country, especially as electrical vehicles become more common. EV battery fires take hours to put out and require a massive amount of water due to the terminal runoff, a chemical reaction inside the battery. The fire also eliminates toxic fumes. I live in that neighborhood right there by it, and people across the street in the back, and they're going to be getting a toxic fume. One fire, and we're going to sue you and them. Everybody. Now, here's another one. This happened. This is a fire. This happened in Farmington Hills. You see that car? That car, they have to burn all the way down for them to put it out. And you're going to put that in the middle of the neighborhood, okay? Let's give you something else. Okay. EB fires pose a challenge that are not associated with the gas-powered vehicles. For example, exposure to damaged parts of the lithium batteries may result in an electric shock, posing dangers to the fire crew and the vehicle occupant. The NBC News in 2021 reported that EV batteries burn much longer than their gas counterparts and take more water to put out. And this is right here, until the product is totally consumed, they will continue to possibly flare up until
15 seconds
all
remaining.
the heat is removed from the battery itself. It's very difficult the way these batteries are located to get to them and get enough water into the battery to do it. This is from the Bloomfield Township Chief, John Leroy. So you brought yourself some trouble with that plant near us.
Thank you, Ms. Beckley. Ms. Darlene Clark.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year to staff, people in TV land, and to the audience here at City Hall. My concern now, we're in 2024. Promises have been made, disappointments have been made. One, I didn't intend to speak on this, but I am. your mayor come forth to you guys to pass resolutions to spend money. You have spent it according to what he wants to spend. McCarroll School is not an eyesore. He wants you to believe it is. That was the only one school that really, the owner took very good care of that property. When you passed there, he made sure the grass was cut at least twice a week. There was no trash or debris, and there was no hanging out. So when the city obtained that property, they really got a property that the owner did very good for Pontiac. Next, I want to address to you guys, the mayor came in here without a staff. He came into the city unequipped with the technology and I want to say the know-how, because if he had the know-how, he'll be a more better planner than what he is. I come from a construction family. I've been in a construction family for over 60 years. You need to have prototypes. You need to have blueprints. You need to have engineers beforehand before you even think about a project that you want to do. Your mayor didn't come with those plans. And if he did, he didn't have a backup. So that put the responsibility on the city. But what's very disappointing to the residents is that he put the conversation when we addressed to the mayor to address it, he also turned it over to the deputy mayor. The people do not want to hear from the deputy mayor because it was the mayor who made the changes and who dropped the ball to his administration, to admit. Another problem is that the mayor is doing, and I'm not trying to put the mayor down, I'm trying to let the council know you're passing and spending money prior to what he wants on his terms. The Martin Luther King Bridge is a holdup for the city of Pontiac. You got the Gurge Fund that these people still don't know where they're going. You got a new park and recreation person that's here, and hey, you don't even have a recreation to build. You got a $2 million budget that was left from the last administration for parks and recreation. Wouldn't it have been easy to build a new rec center than to buy McCarroll with the, like Council Ruffers said? That's over a 50-year building. So are you butting your head against a losing horse? So my concern is that how many more
15 seconds remaining.
How many more times do the council have to be not so much told, but your eyes are going to wake up to a vision of what you really want Pontiac to do? Because right now, no disrespect to anybody nor the administration, it looks like money is not available. And in building anything, you should have an overage of funds available.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Ms. Gloria Miller.
And Council President, don't call my seconds, because you take away a second when you say that. You see what I'm saying? So it's up to.
I'll stop the clock.
You just let me look at it, and then if I don't stop, you just say your time is out.
It's a courtesy for those in the audience who wish to participate in public comment. I've heard feedback from members of the public who feel as though time is being unfairly shared. So that way it's neat and tidy and uniform. Everyone has 3 minutes. The clock is the clock.
Okay.
And I don't want people to be caught off guard when I say time. For example, there was a resident who was reading something and isn't necessarily looking at the clock. So it's a courtesy. It's a new year, first meeting, trying something different. Let's see how it goes. But I'll stop the clock when I give the 15-second warning. And that's that.
And you could answer during your closing comment. How many minutes you guys for your closing comments? I would like to know. I wasn't here earlier. I don't know. I see you changed some of the rules. So you got to practice what you preach. Okay, now, where would I start? 2024, I came in, God is good. God said, you know what? I got this. He's revealing so much in this world. Pastors ain't what they supposed to be. He's revealing everything for people, and it's sad that you don't know where to turn anymore. But thank God I know God. See, that's why I can stand here and speak. I'm not worried about none of this stuff. But my job is to tell you what I'm seeing. Now, I'm going to, for 2024, mayor and the council, I'm going to work on you guys by MLK Boulevard open. As I ride past it every day, and I know a lot of the employees in United Shores, they are furious that this bridge is closed. And you're running on something. Mayor, you're running
What are you running for? You haven't finished the bridge. You haven't even started on MLK. You closed that bridge in when you came in office. You've been in office 2 years. We talking about another 2 years before the bridge get done. So, are you going to put a man back 4 years in a city? Find a city that they did this to. And by the way, Ms. Clark, you have shown me an article where Pontiac was number 4 of the worst city to live in. Just seen it on the internet. Pontiac, Michigan. I don't believe that, because I think we got good people here, and we just don't have the right leadership. We got to keep looking. Now, with that being said, my goal is to get the Martin Luther King bill. I want to speak to the lieutenant governor. I want to speak to the governor. I'm going to make it my job to drive up there myself. I'm not going to ask any of you that. I'm a citizen now. I'm going to take citizens up there and say, Governor, open that bridge for us. Give us the money to get that started. Where are you on that? Because we got a long way to go. It really takes the hospital. I have constituents all in the hospital saying this is driving them literally crazy, that this bridge is closed. It's too important. And I don't think the governor wants that for Pontiac. It's voting this year. It's voting this year, everybody. I think the governor needs us in Pontiac. We're going to get respected, just like every other city. I see no other major city where a major bridge is down. MLK Bridge is a major bridge in this city. And we ride out it. We got to go all around here and all around there. That's not fair. That's my project, 2024, the bridge. Okay, and the next one, the recreation center. Being a part of the former council, that's why I told you guys when you first came in order. My mother always taught me, be careful what you say about someone, especially when you haven't walked in their shoes. Say, I've been there and done this. I'm going to say this before my minute's out.
15 second.
I'm going to get this out. You're not going to get a recreation center because you don't have the money, because the damn money is gone.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. That concludes public comment.
All right, we are now at City Council communications, 2 that we want to flag for you before the next council meeting. The Sheriff PAL Winter 2024 Athletics registration is currently open. It's been open since December 10th, and you can register through January 7th. Available activities include Junior Basketball Academy, Indoor Soccer, Pee Wee Soccer, Track and Conditioning, Cheer, Dance and Tumbling, Mentoring, and Co-ed Intro to Lacrosse. For more information, visit www.sheriffpal.com or email jhickson@sheriffpal.com. That's JHICKSON@SHERIFFPAL.com. Talent Development Coalition, TDC, presents Career Fitness Camp for 18 to 24-year-olds, as well as for adults 25 and older. Deadline for camp sign-up is Thursday, January 4th, 2024, and the camp begins on Monday, January 8th, 2024. To sign up and for more information, contact Carlton D. Jones at 313-585-9950 or Ricky Bradford at 818-391-3910, or use the QR code on the accompanying flyer. All right, with that, we are at Clerk's communications. Clerk Doyle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to remind voters that next week we'll be back to the regular meeting schedule. So the next City Council meeting will be on Tuesday, January 9th at 6 p.m.
Thank you, sir. We're at closing comments, and to answer the question, to just reiterate, we've re-adopted the rules and procedures. So as with the previous 2 years, now we're in the 3rd year. For closing comments, Mayor Tim Greimel has 7 minutes for closing comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I want to begin by just addressing some of the concerns and questions that have been raised during public comment. First, I want to reiterate, as we have many times back when the project that is going to be occurring on the Mark Twain site was approved through rezoning. I want to be really clear again for probably the 5th or 6th time that that is not a battery manufacturing facility. It is a facility that is intended to create the shells, the sheet metal shells in which batteries will be placed at a different location. So the concern about batteries catching fire at that location is misplaced because it is not a battery manufacturing plant. I know we've said that many, many times, but apparently it bears repeating. I also want to thank the member of the public who emphasized that we did not have much of a staff here at City Hall when I entered office as the new mayor. And that is very true. Although the city had been out of emergency management for 5 or 6 years when I entered office, nothing really had changed from emergency management. There were very few staff people here at City Hall. We had very bare bones departments. And to the extent that there were some staff people here, they were often not particularly effective in their roles in some instances. And so we had a lot of work to do during the first year, which was focused on building staff capacity, making sure that we're bringing on more competent and capable staff, but also just making sure that we had adequate numbers of staff here. Because again, we really started rebuilding from emergency management just 2 years ago when I became mayor. And so I'm happy to say that mostly we have accomplished that task. The one major exception to that, as was discussed tonight, is making sure that we properly build out the DPW department, including with a city engineer that is an in-house city employee. Also want to talk again regarding the Martin Luther King Boulevard Bridge. To the governor and the legislature's great credit, they have appropriated the $10 million for the Martin Luther King Bridge, and that appropriation went into effect with the current state fiscal year, which began on October 1st. What we are waiting on is the bureaucratic process of getting the state's Department of Transportation to sign that agreement with the city so that we can actually get those dollars. Certainly, we welcome support in the form of contacting the governor's office or lieutenant governor's office to encourage them to get the Michigan Department of Transportation to move more expeditiously on that. It wasn't me who made well, I guess ultimately I made the decision, but it wasn't me who came up with the idea of closing the Martin Luther King Bridge. We did a routine bridge inspection in the first 6 months or so of me being in office, and it was determined that the bridge was unsafe and had to be closed to protect members of the public. We've talked a lot about that, and certainly we're not going to put members of the public at risk by keeping a bridge that's unsafe open. So I certainly stand by the decision to close that bridge based on the engineer's recommendation. I also want to note that we're very grateful to State Representative Carter and State Senator Moss for their support in getting that $10 million for that MLK Bridge project. We do have a substantial amount of funds available for the Youth Recreation Center. We have the $3 million that had been set aside by the previous city council and remains in a specific account for that facility, as well as an additional $3 million in ARPA funds that we have allocated for that. We will likely need additional funds beyond that, and our grants department, which has a very successful track record of securing funds, has several promising leads, and we anticipate that we will have the funding needed to complete that project. And lastly, I want to announce some youth recreation happenings. I know that the council president did a great job of announcing the Sheriff PAL programming. But our city youth recreation department has a lot of great winter programs as well. Those include a baking class, kickboxing, The Voice, which is a singing opportunity, Biddy basketball training, Project Succeed Boys to help mentor young men in the community or future young men in the community, mentoring opportunities beyond that, robotics, elementary basketball league, digital content creative course, intermediate band opportunities, tutoring, boxing, 3D printing, and Rolling with Soul, which is a cooking class. So we've got a lot of great opportunities, not just in terms of athletics, although that's important, but also in terms of learning and creative opportunities as well. If you're interested in enrolling a young person in those opportunities, we encourage you to go online to the city's website and go to the youth recreation portion of that website. Or you can also call our youth recreation division at 248-758-3037. That's 248-758-3037. We also have our now second annual Winterfest coming up here at the City Hall grounds on January 20th. That's a Saturday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. This will include opportunities including ice skating, Polar Express ride, music, food, hot chocolate, s'mores. So it's a very family-friendly event. We've had many hundreds of people out in the past year for last year's first annual Winterfest. This year promises to be bigger and better still. So come on out. And then lastly, I want to let folks know that on February 10th, we are going to have a daddy-daughter dance, which is a city tradition that we have once again brought back in-house as a city-sponsored event. So this will be the second annual daddy-daughter dance. In April, we want to make sure that we're facilitating similar bonds between mothers and sons, and so we're going to have a mother-son dinner in April. And then we also have our Spring Bash and Egg Hunt, our Easter egg hunt, on March 23rd. So we look forward to people coming out for those youth recreation and family fun activities as well. Many thanks to everyone who makes our community happen, and by that I mean not just elected officials, not just city employees, but activists, those who come to city council meetings and are outspoken about dynamics in the community. We welcome your feedback, we welcome your questions, we encourage you to continue to stay involved in the community. And with that, I want to wish everyone a very happy new year as we continue to build a bigger and better Pontiac.
All right, next is Clerk Doyle's closing comments, and again, that's a 3-minute time window. Clerk Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to remind citizens that the presidential primary is scheduled for February 27th. The clerk's office has mailed absentee voter applications to all residents on our permanent absentee voter list. I'm encouraging all citizens to return their applications as soon as possible. We'll begin to mail absent voter ballots on January 18th. January 18th is the first day we can mail ballots per state law. And you can actually, beginning on January 18th, if you want to come in person and vote, you can begin doing that on January 18th as well, too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and Happy New Year to all of your staff. Councilman Rutherford, and City Council closing comments is 3 minutes, and I'll do the same 15-minute warning as a 15-second warning as needed. Councilman Rutherford.
Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other people. Time, when we've been waiting for, we are the answers that we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek, and that was by Barack Obama. You are a change agent if we take on the role of a change agent. What do you want to see change in Pontiac? I see changes for small businesses. I see roads being repaired. I see the way we're treating each other is changing. And what would happen if we all started to be change agents? Some of the dates that I'm scheduling is, I am scheduling a meeting with the mayor, Grimel and Deborah Younger, to see how we can improve the parking. I've heard your request and your desire to see something happen. Golf Drive will be getting repaired this year. The mini park, both Art Dunlap and Motor, will be getting updated, and there's so much more. Our District 1 meeting is January the 27th, 2024 at 3 p.m. My building and facilities meeting is Friday, the 26th at 3 p.m. I look forward to having everyone be there where we will have a discussion about what's going to happen with Purdue, what's going to happen with McCarroll, what's the timeline, and also getting updates on what we're doing in the courts. Last but certainly not least, this is a year of new beginnings. This is a year of prosperity. This is a year of growth. And so you have to not have a fixed mindset, but have a growth mindset. It is okay to feel fearful of what's going to happen, but it is not okay to allow that fear to paralyze you. And so I ask you to be the change agent that you want to see. I ask you that when there is a disagreement, that you pause before you respond. And I ask you that you pray for us and pray for others in leadership, because if you don't pray for your leaders, how can your leaders actually lead? And to that I say Happy New Year and God bless.
Thank you. District 3, Councilman Goodman.
Happy New Year's to everyone. To keep it rather simple, I am very happy to be up here for what is now our third year. And more importantly than anything, I am more dedicated in finishing what I started. A lot of my residents, as we've mentioned today with the town hall that's happening tomorrow, housing is one of the most important things that affects people in our city. And I will continue to fight tooth and nail for every bit of protection that our residents deserve. But not only that, doing everything we can to continue to improve the city in terms of quality of life. We talk about, what we're doing for downtown and our businesses, which is very important for our city's longevity and our livelihood. But we have to remember at all times the people who live in the neighborhoods, the people who call this city home. And that means making sure that they have a community that is as full service to them as possible, that meets as many of their needs in a reasonable, high-quality way, whether that be housing, whether it be roads, street sweeping, plowing, code enforcement. I just am dedicated to making sure that this city is a better place than we all left it for every single one of us in every possible way that we can. So with that, I encourage everyone who has time tomorrow to come into the town hall that is happening in North Hill Farms about the $10 million from HUD for the apartment rehabilitation, as well as coming out to the District 3 meeting. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or just want to be around some of your other residents, there will be some light refreshments provided along with, again, the children's coat giveaway. So to reiterate one final time between now and tomorrow, if you are able to come to the town hall that is happening at the North Hill Farms Clubhouse from 5 to 7, please come out. There will be children's coats available, first come, first serve. We will not be taking down any names or saving any of them, so please come out or even send someone to pick up a children's coat. So with that, Happy New Year to everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
And that was your 15-second warning. District 4's councilperson, Kathleen James.
Yes, thank you, Mr. newly elected president. I want to congratulate you and Councilman Carrington on your reelection. You both have done outstanding work for the council and look forward to working with you a new year. Also, I want to wish our residents in the city of Pontiac a very happy and blessed 2024. It's a wonderful thing, to be able to wish someone else well and to really mean it from the heart. So I really want to wish our city a very happy and blessed new year. Also want to announce that our Parks, Recreation, and Public Works Subcommittee will hold its first meeting of 2024 on Monday, January the 22nd at 12 noon in the Legislative Conference Room. And also the District 4 Community Council will hold its first meeting of the year on Thursday, January the 25th, and those meetings are held at 6 p.m. at the New Mount Moriah International Church on Walton Boulevard. Everyone is welcome to attend. Also this year, we are also going to expand that outreach in terms of meeting and getting to know the residents of District 4. We will be setting up meetings to have engagement meetings in our different senior buildings in District 4. So we're in the process now of setting those meetings up. And as those meetings are confirmed, I will announce when they will occur. So if there's people listening who live in senior buildings in District 4, we are in the process of setting up meetings so that we can hear from you and to hear your concerns. And with that, okay, my phone number, if anyone needs to get in touch with me in regards to anything, is 248-425-4663. And that's it. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you very, very much. Councilman William Parker Jr., District 5.
Thank you, Brother President. And I, too, want to say Happy New Year to the city of Pontiac and all of those who are continuing to move this city forward. I want to thank this council for the vote that they did today. It was not a vote against anyone. It was a vote for moving the city forward. Each and every one of us have the potential to be able to lead this group. And I want to thank those but it does take time, it does take dedication, it does take commitment. It does, and each and every one of us, I believe, has jobs. And so the time that we put toward that certainly is beneficial. And I want to thank those who even will say, I have the time to be able to do that task, because it does take a lot of time. As those who've been sitting even in the audience know that it does take some time. I just want to say thank you. There's some things that we've asked for, and I hope that we, somewhere in the near future, will get some clarity and some closure on some of the issues that our council have asked for. Certainly in the latter part of last year, we asked for an update on budget. We asked for ARPA funds update. We've asked for some things, and I hope that somewhere in the near future we can get those things taken care of so we can move forward. I believe, though, as I heard our leadership speak about, I think the next couple of years will be more community-focused leadership. We've done a lot of things to try to build up in security infrastructure. Now it's time to start concentrating on what we do for community. And that would be my goal for the next year or so, or at least until I'm out, to make sure that we do things for community, specifically my community, because I've often said very little happens past Mount Calm, and we need to fix that. Hopefully in this year we'll have new vision, new goals. We'll continue to move. We'll continue to understand that some of the things that we do don't make sense to everybody, but they will once we get it done. And with that, I'll say have a happy new year. I want to remind everybody our Law and Courts Committee will be meeting on the January 22nd at 4 p.m. Please come out and share. And probably the next time we meet, we will have had a GERS meeting and give you a better update on where we are with that since the last time the administration gave you an update. I want to ask, and I think I asked you a question, and please stay with me and give me an answer, Brother Carlton Jones, because we do want to do more community-focused leadership and making sure that we are listening and observing and hearing what the community is saying we need to be concentrating on. And with that, I'll say have a great evening. And with that, I'll say good evening.
District 6, President Pro Tem William A. Carrington.
Thank you, President McGinnis. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the City of Pontiac, the residents of the 6th District, the administration, this council. This is our start of a third year, and I think that we're going to do some great things. So continue to work hard. Let's work collectively with each other to get to the finish line. So again, thank you for your work. I just received a text, and I'm going to be brief right now. A resident in the 6th District, I know that the gentleman had been ill because I spoke with Ms. Wilson. So he passed this past weekend, Mr. Paul Wilson. Okay, not now, please, not now. If you want to talk to me after this meeting, you can, but not now. And definitely, I want to offer that particular family, the Wilson family, my true condolences, and good night.
All right, I'm Mike McGinnis, District 7 City Council person. We have 2 meetings of note for me to share with you this coming Monday, January 8th, if I've got the date right. Yes, Monday, January 8th. So 9:00 a.m. is the next Economic Development, Housing, and Planning Subcommittee in the City Council Legislative Conference Room, because we normally hold it on the first Monday of every month, but that was New Year's Day. City Hall was closed. So the next Economic Development, Housing, and Planning Subcommittee is next Monday, January 8th at 9 a.m. That same day at 7:00 p.m. is our next District 7 meeting, the first meeting of the new year. All are invited to the East Side Community Meeting Monday, January 8th from 7 to 9 p.m. at Prospect Missionary Baptist Church, 351 Prospect Street on Pontiac's East Side. You are hereby invited and encouraged to come, so that way we can continue tackling neighborhood improvements in our district. If you need to get a hold of me, you of course can always email, call the office, or my cell phone of 248-410-0702. Happy New Year, and to reiterate what Councilman James said, a happy and blessed New Year to every one of our 61,000 Pontiac neighbors and all of those who are connected to Pontiac some way in terms of working here, volunteering here, caring about our Pontiac community. Thank you again to the City Council for the opportunity to continue serving us We have a lot of work ahead of us, but we are up to the task, so we'll keep our shirt sleeves rolled up and our nose to the grindstone. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Moved by Carrington. Support.
It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman Parker, that we adjourn this afternoon's meeting. Hearing no discussion, roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That motion carries. We stand adjourned at 2:16 p.m. Please be safe. And again, the next city council meeting is next Tuesday night, January